Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Bones of the Story. Today, we are doing an episode where we talk about romance terminology. And some of this you may already know, so we'll probably start off a little bit easier. But we just decided to have this conversation and discuss some of the key phrases or words that we use when discussing romance novels, and possibly some terms that would be foreshadowing some future episodes. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. So without further ado, I think we're going to jump in with the first one, which I can never pronounce right. Romancelandia? Landia? I don't know how to say that, but that is literally what the romance fandom is named when you're on any like social media. Romancelandia.
Yeah, Romancelandia. I've never heard of that.
Oh, yeah. It's hashtagged everywhere.
Hashtag everywhere.
That is what they call it. I don't know who came up with the name or how it was coined, but it has been there for a minute. So, and then do we want to go back and forth or like both say things or?
Whatever.
I love that we never actually plan things. I just kind of wing it.
I don't plan anything for my podcast either.
That's awesome. Okay, so the next one that's on the list is HEA and HFN, which is happily ever after and happily for now. Not happily, happy for now.
Don't like that.
Oh, you don't like those?
No, I don't like happy for now. Like, no, it's just happy ever after. If it's a happy for now, unless there is a subsequent book or subsequent books, don't want it.
I think the happy for now is normally that. So, like, one of the examples I use is the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy. Like, the first two books are happy for now. Well, maybe not the first one, but the whole trilogy is a happily ever after because you get that conclusion at the end of book 3.
Yeah,
but it's the leading up to it.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And then I guess we don't have to do all of these. We could just pick and choose what we want. Then I put all the initials at the bottom for most of them.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so then we've got what?
I don't know. I definitely think that we should probably, because trash was asked for, but I think we should probably do smut and maybe some of the ones after that. I mean, or we could do all of them. Fuck, let's just, I'm down for it. If we got time, let's talk about all that we can till we can't.
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay. So you want to do the next one?
All right. So the next one is a cliffhanger. So this is where the book ends at some pinnacle within the story. So someone's left, most likely, like, not in great scenarios.
At least for dark romance.
Like Rune and Hunt in the freaking torture chambers. And then fucking Earth and Blood ends. Or no, Sky and Breath.
It took me a second to realize what series you were talking about. I'm like, what the?
Rune Dannon, Crown Prince of the Valvaran Fae.
It took me a minute.
Oh, well, I haven't even had a full cup of coffee yet, so we're slow going this morning. Normally I'm on my.
Oh, okay, that was a good example though. Even though I was lost for a second.
I mean, I guess I could have mentioned Bryce, but
no, that was perfect.
Rune's more important. Okay, so then we've got standalone, series, shared universe, and interconnected. So these are like different ways to explain how authors' books work, depending on what it is you're reading at the time. So a standalone, there's like no interconnecting world or story or anything else. It's literally just, you can read just that book and nothing else happens in other books that are connected to that one. And then a series is, you should read them in subsequent order. So like ACOTAR, Throne of Glass. I was trying to think of like a dark romance series. You would know better than I would.
Bonds That Tie.
Yeah. And then you have a shared universe. So this is where the author has created a world of some sort. And by world, we mean like it doesn't have to. I've thought for a long time like the world was just fantasy. This is simply whatever background the author is putting their characters on. So, for example, I just read Icebreaker and Wildfire. That's a shared universe, but you don't have to read them to understand what's happening in the other one. So they're both set in California. They're both set at with college kids. The college kids in each book's kind of like know of each other or know each other. So it's a shared universe, not necessarily like no overarching plot or anything. What's some dark romance shared universe ones?
I'm pretty sure there's a lot.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
Have
I've read them.
oh um um uh oh god. I'll get there in a second. The Take James. Her stuff is interconnected, right? Because you've got
I would say
Madison.
that are you talking about the Madison Kate series or the Madison Kate and the Hades series? So Madison
Yeah,
Kate,
they're
the 4 books is a series.
well, yeah, okay. So like you have the series within their own thing, but like
Right.
but you know like it's I don't know that would it be shared universe or interconnected because they really don't have like overarching plots together, but they all like Hades knows of I can't even remember the books that we read.
Yeah. See, this is one of the things that I think is struggled with. These 2, they could almost mean the same thing, but to me, I think shared universe is like the example that you gave. Like you have all these kids that go to one university, and let's say it's the hockey team, like the 5 players on the hockey team. I'm pretty sure there's more than 5 players, but like whatever. And each one of those team members get a book, right? That's like a shared universe where
Right.
interconnected is maybe something like it's the same thing, but the couple from like the first book you also still see in like book 3. And or I think the Bully series by Penelope Douglas is a really good interconnected because you haven't read the Bully series, have you? I
No.
want you to read the Bully series. So,
You have to decide which bully series you're going to make me read because you only get one.
can I not do 3?
I'll read a second when you read Lucy Score.
Okay, deal. Can it be any Lucy score or
Yeah,
a
I don't care.
specific one you want me to read?
No, I don't care. They're all
Okay.
fantastic.
So you'll read one, and then I have to read a Lucy score, and then you have to read another one.
Yes.
Okay. Y'all heard it here first, folks. But I think interconnected maybe interconnected could be like Janine Frost or like Nadine seeing the Guild Hunter, where
Exactly.
multiple books are about the same couple, and then every once in a while you have like the side characters get their story, but it's still interconnected. That's what I
I
would
think
say.
that's yeah, I think that's probably the best representation of an interconnected story because you're not just sharing the universe, you're also sharing an overarching plot through
Mm-hmm.
all 20 books.
Yeah. I think you explained those very well. Thank you, Jen, because I don't think I could have done it.
Aw, thanks.
So next we have TBR, which is to be read. And side note, for those people who say that they have finished their TBR list, they are liars, and or they only had like 10 books, and or they're only new readers, and they don't know what a real TBR list is. So if you're one of those people out there, email us. I want to talk. I need to know how many books you had on your list to make you say that you've completed it, okay? Because that's just not true. And
I mean,
then
maybe
we
they completed like what their focus was at the time. Like we could finish our TBR jar maybe eventually one day.
if we stop adding to it, sure.
There's that. There's
The
that.
magical jar that's sitting right there. Yeah. If we never added to it, absolutely, we could totally get it done. But I just don't think that it's possible. Like, if you had like a list of like 10 books, hey, these are the 10 books I want to read this year. So you completed that TBR. I think that's in the shared universe of your TBR. Okay. It's not the full thing.
Oh
I'm
gosh.
just really curious. Like, I actually want to speak to somebody who was like said that they have finished their TBR, and I just like, okay, well, how many books were on there? Like, these are questions that I have. I'm curious. I mean, no
I've
disrespect. I'm coming from a place of curiosity.
I've never heard anybody say that. So
Well, I see those videos on social media, like, oh, I finished my TBR, and I don't know if they're joking or serious, but I just need to know. So next we have DNF and DNR, which is did not finish or did not read, which you guys may be familiar with that because we have our segment when we have our season wrap up to talk about the buddy reads that we did not finish or read. I don't think we have
I
any
feel
for
like
this.
do it.
No go.
I was gonna say I feel like there needs to be an acronym for like refuses to read.
RTR. There we go. We just created a new acronym. You heard it here first. Refuse to read, RTR.
Yeah.
And that's how Jen feels about some of the books I want her to read. That's okay.
No. No, I don't think there's any like I would downright refuse. I don't know that there's really anything like if somebody really really wanted me to read it and they felt that I would like it or enjoy it or it would make for a good discussion that I wouldn't absolutely read. But like when I think of books I refuse in
Mm-hmm.
quotation basically Colleen Hoover.
Okay. I take my statement back as Dan corrected. I'm okay with that.
That's pretty much the only author that like and honestly apparently like what she writes is good. I can't and this is going to sound so funny for someone who likes dark romance. I can't read and enjoy books that have like that level of emotional warfare for kicks and giggles. Like if we're gonna have like if you're going to play on my emotions and like make me feel things for characters, like it has to serve a purpose. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to read something about like what actually could happen in real life because that just makes me sad.
Yeah.
Like so just no thank you.
I feel like that's reasonable. That's your baseline. I
Yeah.
I don't that's not true. There are a lot of things that I would like refuse to read. Contemporary would be one. Historical. Ugh, not a fan of historical.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one on our list is trash, which is a word that I think I use more than Jen. I don't think Jen has actually ever used that to describe anything.
No.
I think for me, trash is just a catch all to say that I didn't like it instead of saying I didn't like it. I just say it was trash. I don't think it has really any general meaning, and it could be because of a multiple of things. Like it could be because I didn't like the characters, or it could be because I didn't like a scene, or I didn't like how it ended. Like there's no trigger for one thing. It's just what's another example? It's just a catch-all. Trash is what it is. It's a can with a garbage bag, and it's a catch-all. Okay, it catches all the things, whether it's a box or leftover food or cat shit. It's trash. I don't know how else to explain it.
Makes sense to me.
Okay.
I feel like okay, so the next one we have are like tropes and kinks. I feel like we could do an entire episode just on those two things
Lots of
because there's
foreshadowing.
so many things. Okay, so a trope are like certain scenes or like you might have to help me on this one, like plot points or certain scenarios that
Uh-huh.
happen with so like enemies to lovers is a trope, the one bed trope, who did this to you is a trope.
Yeah, forced proximity.
Forced proximity. Oh my god, I love forced proximity. Curvy girl, like that's its own,
Mhm.
kind of trope. I mean, you could basically anything that you can pull out of the story as part of like what made that story happen would
Like a
be considered.
theme.
Yeah, theme. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I always, one of my favorite things to hear about with other, and I would love, like, if y'all find us on like Instagram or Threads or TikTok or whatever, like, I want y'all to tell us what your off the wall trope is.
Can we
Like,
save that for an episode? Like, don't share yours right now. We're going to do that later. Okay.
yeah, I want to know. I want to know. Okay. And then kinks are like the different, like, I don't know
Sexual
how to,
expression?
no, I wouldn't say sexual expression. It's more like
It's the opposite of the trope.
there's sexual preferences, maybe.
Okay.
So, I mean, and again, this could be an entire series. There's so many different types of kinks,
Yeah.
right? But like, I mean, it can be as simple as like, someone likes their hands tied, or it can be as like intense as like knife and blood play.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't think of anything else more intense than knife or blood play.
There's praise kink, degradation.
Yeah.
There's even like rape kinks.
Yeah. Dabcon, non-con, which we're going to talk
Mm-hmm.
about here in a minute. We'll go into more detail what that means. I
I
mean,
don't
you've
even
got.
think. I don't even think. You're right. This could be a whole episode, so we should probably.
Oh, like, and again, the thing that I like about kinks, and that's what can make it difficult to sometimes rate things, is like you can have like a very simple like kink relationship, and then you can go into like full blown like 24-hour power exchange kink.
That would be interesting.
The most intense power exchange trope I read, and I still have no idea how I feel about it, is As She's Told by, I think her name is Annika Jacobs.
So now I need to read this book.
Okay, I was close. It's Anneke, so maybe Annika, but
Yeah.
Jacob, no S. And I would love to have a discussion about that book because there's so many themes in there that are very controversial that
Okay.
I'm just so intensely curious what other people think about it.
Okay. I'll add it to my list.
Smut. So I classify smut as like if I want to read smut, it is a book with little to no plot.
So
So I think
erotica.
yeah, basically. Yeah, like a better name for erotica. So like I think of Priest by Sierra Simone. That's a
Okay, that's not
good.
erotica though. So that's interesting.
But like there's no plot. It's just sex basically.
Well,
There's basically zero plot. The only
okay. So
plot is
hold on. I have to think because I read Priest when it first came out. So like I need to. Okay, so the definition of erotica is if you take the sex out, there's nothing else to read. I feel like if you took the sex out of Priest, there would still be a storyline because he's struggling with his faith and whether or not he wants to, continue.
yeah, but the only reason he starts struggling is because she shows up
Right,
and
because he
he
falls in love with her or lust. Again, I read
yeah,
it when it first came out. So, but he could still fall in love and lust with her without having the sex.
that's boring.
Well, obviously, who wants to read that? That's why we're where we're at, Jen.
Oh,
This is why we read what we read.
it's true.
So I've heard people explain that smut is just sex in a book. And I'm like, There's varying degrees of that, because you have open door, you have fade to black, you have closed door, like you have off the page, like
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. I mean, I when I think of like if I'm gonna read smut, it's something with like very little plot.
yeah,
That's
that
what
the
I
like the
it,
focus is sex, right? Like there's a whole bunch of sex, right?
now. Granted, you have other people who think like A Court of Silver Flames is smutty,
I
and it's
know,
not.
and that's like that's
So
I,
so I feel like I feel
hold
like for
on. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm never mind. I'm not gonna
no, no,
say.
no, no, no. Oh no. Oh no. You're saying now. I don't know what it is, but you're telling me something.
This is why people are gonna end up hating us. I'm sorry. If anybody told me that Crescent City was smut, I would never take any book recommendations from them again because they don't know what they're talking about, and they probably need to go into a nunnery and like just stay away from the world. That is not smut. That's not smut. That's just everyday life. Like, I don't even remember her going into detail.
Listen, the only thing that I remember prior to Flame and Shadow was Hunt's little like lightning electricity trick on Bryce's happy button. And that was interesting. And that was pretty much the only thing that I was like, oh, that sounds fun.
Okay, yeah.
And
That that's not smut. So see, that kind of goes back to people who think if there's a sex scene, then all of a sudden it's smut in a book.
right.
But
Well,
that's
and
not.
that's what I was gonna say. It's like Emily Henry is a really good example. Like she has on the page sex, and there's even like her scenes are pretty good. Same thing with Allie Hazelwood. Like both of them write great sex scenes, but it's like it's vanilla sex, and it's typically only two scenes maybe throughout the entire book. So for me, that's just a romance novel. It's not smut.
Honestly, I don't even like the term smut, to be honest. I mean, I don't like it. I don't hate it. I think it's too convoluted and there are too many varying degrees of it to possibly come to a consensus on what smut means. But anything by Sarah J. Maas is not smut.
So okay, so like a good smut author would be who? I'm trying to think.
Hold
Oh,
on.
um, I don't know. I think you could get away with like it, and again, you're talking like varying degrees. Like semi wholesome smut would be Tessa Bailey, in my opinion. Like her stuff gets a little dirtier than like contemporary romance normally does. She has typically several scenes throughout the book, even if it's only 300 pages, and it's detailed
I think,
because it. What?
I guess I'm old school and I'm stuck on erotic and erotica. And I think smut is a catch all for that instead of differentiating between the two. So I spoke that erotica is if you take the sex out, there's no plot because
Yeah,
the whole thing is about sex. But erotic is spicy, it's dirty, you know,
yeah,
Maya Banks, I would consider she writes some erotic.
yeah. You'll find her in the erotic section at half off books.
I was looking at my bookshelf to see if I could think of anything, and all I see is paranormal because that's all that I'm not to say that paranormal can't be erotic, but I feel like smut is the catch-all between the two, and I don't even think I've
Yeah,
ever used the word smut because, again, it's not clearly defined for me. But I like the way that you're defining it and providing the examples, except for the Sarah J. Maas, and I don't think I'm gonna get over that very soon. Like, probably never, because that's just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, and I want somebody who believes that to come and talk to us because we're gonna debate.
well, and I think when someone first gets into, because I started with Akatar. Well, okay, actually, I started with Credence was my very first book, back into reading, and then I went into ACOTAR.
Okay, Credence, that's erotic. You're talking about Penelope Douglas Credence, right?
Yeah.
I would call that erotic.
But if you take the sex out, there's plenty of plot left.
Erotica is if you take the sex out.
Oh, okay. Okay. Then yeah. Yeah. Like I would say Credence is erotic, smutty.
So erotic
Yeah.
is what? E-R-O-C-I-T? No. What the fuck?
No, you'll get there. Try again. You're so close.
E-R-O-T-I-C. And then erotica is E-R-O-T-I-C-A. Good
Yeah.
Lord. It's not like it's like 6 o'clock in the morning or anything. And we have
Exactly.
functioning brain power.
So like I feel like if someone starts, because so many people do, they start with ACOTAR. From ACOTAR, like literally, I'm not saying the series ACOTAR, like A Court of Thorns and Roses, to A Court of Silver Flames. By the time you get into A Court of Silver Flames, if that is your baseline for smut, A Court of Silver Flames is spicy. That rating doesn't go down until you add other books and widen your horizons a bit. And then you can say that wasn't all that smutty. The Ritual is stupid smutty. It's the same thing with our dark scale. Like our dark scale, we have to redefine what that is because now we have a new baseline.
You can't be logical at 6 o'clock in the morning, Jen.
I'm just saying.
No, you are absolutely 100% right. I don't disagree. I'm just saying. But I love you anyways. That is a very good point, and you are right.
Because I love you too.
But I'm still going to stand by my.
So we chatted about smut.
Mm-hmm.
Now, trigger warnings, content warnings. I'm going to let you take this one. And also, is there a difference between trigger and content warnings?
No, they're the same thing. That's why I put them together. Just some people use trigger, some people use content. I would say that they're the same thing. So trigger warnings or content warnings is the equivalent of, hey, here are the themes, tropes / kinks that are going to be in this book that may be sensitive to some readers. Please read them. There's nothing more that drives an avid reader such as Jen and myself that you read a book, you don't look at the warnings, and then all of a sudden you're pissed off because it had a kissing scene and you don't want to read kissing books, but in the warnings it says this book contains kissing. Like, just don't. Just don't. Like, that's not fair to the readers who don't have an issue with that when you go and say, oh, this is a horrible book because it had kissing. And that's not fair to the authors who are writing because you didn't take the time to know what your boundaries are and to make sure that your boundaries weren't going to be violated by checking those lists. Totally went on a tangent. Sorry. But trigger warnings and content warnings list the items that are going to be in the book, such as, blood and knife play, a praise kink, degradation, sex on the page, accidental cannibalism, other women, enemies to lovers, like cheating trope. Like, please, for all that is out there, if you know that there are things that you don't want to read that cross the line for your personal boundaries, which there's nothing wrong with it. That's why they have these warnings.
Yep.
Read them first.
Yeah.
Please. Or, they always have them in the book or the author website, or contact the author directly because they have no problem answering your question. Hey, is there kissing on the page? The author will tell you yes or no. And then hey, I can't read this because there's kissing and I don't like kissing. Simple as that. I don't know how else to explain it.
No, that was great. I'm going to let you take dubcon, con, non-con, and non-con.
The hardest things on here she's going to give to the illogical, emotional, can't spell person.
That sounds fair to me.
Not eloquent with words at all.
Oh my god.
Okay. So dubious consent or dub con is how it sounds. You don't know. You as the reader are just as conflicted about the consent as the person that it's happening to.
Yeah. So a good example of that, I think, would be when, and I can't remember character names, but like when in the ritual, the guy drugs her and then like messes with her when she's knocked out. That would be a good example of Dubcon. Because at that point, they're already in the relationship.
I wouldn't call that because I wouldn't call that. I would call that non-consensual because she wasn't aware. So dubious consent is let's say she was drugged but she wasn't knocked out, but she didn't say no.
Okay.
That would be dubious consent. When we're reading dark romance and the main male character like pushes her up against the wall, gives her a hand necklace. She doesn't say no, but she turns her head sideways, but then he brings her face back and then he kisses her. That's dubious consent, right? Because then all of a sudden after he kisses her, whatever triggers in our body to make us like being kissed. And then maybe she pulls her mouth away again and then he brings it back. But she never says no. That would be dubious consent to me, Dubcon.
Yeah. Okay.
Consensual non-consent is some of those kinks or tropes where you want to be dominated, you don't want to have any say, you have rape fantasies. So you have said, "Hey, at some point, I want you to sneak into my room while I'm asleep. Do whatever you want to do with me, no matter what I say, and you have 2 hours to do it." But you don't know when it's going to happen. So you have consented to non-consent action because you've set that boundary ahead of time.
Yeah.
Or it could be in role playing, it could be anything like that.
Yep.
I think a consensual non-consent or even dubious consent could be you speak, the main female character speaks to the main male character and it's like, "Hey, what the hell is it? It's Samio something. There's a word. But you can have sex with me while I'm asleep. You can do sexual things to me while I'm asleep. And if I wake up, that's great. If not, then I'm okay." Because you have verbalized that. And it still falls in the dubcom because you are unconscious, but you have given consent that it's okay to do it and that you are comfortable with this person so that they could do it at any time.
Yeah.
And then non-consensual is the opposite of all those. I have said no, I don't want it. It is still happening.
Yeah.
So non-con is, let's go back to that. The main male character pushing the main female character up against the wall with the neck collar, which neck collar just means his hands wrapped around his throat, or a hand necklace. And she's saying no, and he still continues to kiss her, and then all the things. So that would be non-consensual.
Yeah.
Wow, I feel like I did that really well.
You did. I think you did a great job.
I was really surprised with myself. Is there anything you would like to add to any of those four that I may have missed or not? Okay, cool.
Nope.
Man, I accomplished something great. We're doing so good today, Jen. I love it. Do you want to do the next one or you want me to? I mean, I can finish out the rest of the list if you want to do the initials.
Sure, that works.
We can go every other way.
That works.
So we have RH, which is reverse harem, or Y choose, or poly, or polymorphous. I don't know if I actually pronounced that right, but that's what I say. And that just, there we go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is why I need you in my life. This is essentially where the main female character does not have to choose between the main characters that she's interested in. And a reverse harem Y choose has to be more than 3 people. 3 or more males.
Okay.
It has to be more than 3 because you have a menage a trois, which is 3 people, including the female. So you cannot have 2 males with a female and it be considered a reverse harem. That's not how that works. It has to be 3 males or more for it to classify as a reverse harem. Because otherwise then it's just a menage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's a hard distinction that some people don't realize, that even though she has more than one love interest, that they're just, I guess a reverse harem or it's a Y choose. I mean, for a menage, you can still use the term Y choose because she is not choosing one man, she has 2, but it is not a reverse harem. If there are only 2 males and they share a female, it is a menage. And then sword crossing. So sword crossing means that within that menage or that reverse harem, the males are not just having sex with the female, the single female. The males are also having sex amongst themselves. They are crossing their swords, which is the best kind of why choose I think there is.
Agreed.
Omegaverse. So Omegaverse is a universe that was created. You'll never do you know the history behind Omegaverse, Jen? How it's created? So it came from
No, go ahead.
the Omegaverse was created off of Supernatural fanfic, which I think is phenomenal because I love the TV show Supernatural.
That's great.
Yeah. And so the Omegaverse is essentially a different version of a paranormal. So in Omegaverse, you have betas, omegas, and alphas, and they take on the qualities of those traits, but they don't ever shapeshift. They remain in their human skin. So there's nodding, there's mating, there's strength, there's smell, but they remain human. Which I love me a good Omegaverse. Oh. Nodding and nesting, which nodding and nesting are also tropes and kinks. So it all reverts back to that one. But yeah, Omegaverse was created because of Supernatural, which just makes my heart happy. And then we have the word ship or shipping. And that just means that there are 2 characters that you want to be together or should be together or you change. So a good ship is Hermione and Malfoy. People ship them so hard.
Yep.
And if you haven't read Manacled, please do. It's the best fanfic out there that I've read so far about Hermione and Malfoy. Another good ship is Shadowboy and Elaine from ACOTAR. Is it Elaine? What's her name?
Oh, Asriel and Elaine.
Yeah, Elaine. That's a ship that people want, which will not happen. Hopefully doesn't happen. Anyways, that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
So that's a good idea of what ship or shipping is when you hear that. And then now we've decided to do some character initials and pairings.
Yeah. So we've got capital H is that's only referring to the male, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So like capital H is your male hero, male hero, and then lowercase h is your female heroine.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got MC, which is main character, and then you have MMC, which is your main male character, and then you have MFC, which is main female character, which are all pretty self-explanatory.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then we've got you have FF or F/F, and that means you have 2 females together. MM is 2 males. MF is a male and a female. Then you have MFM, and that is, and you might have to correct me on these.
Okay.
That's when you have a male and female together, and they bring their third person is a male that comes in. And then you have MMF, you have 2 males together, and they bring a female in. So, like, if you have, I'm trying to think of an MFM that I've read. I don't have one.
Hold on, I have a lot.
But one favorite MMF is Sugar Daddies by Jade West. It's so good.
Wait, Sugar Daddies is a menage? Jen, if you would have told me this a long time ago, I would have read it a long time ago. That is very important detail, okay?
Yeah, it's MMF, and okay. So what I didn't know about Sugar Daddies is that it wasn't a daddy kink. I assumed it was a daddy kink, and it's not. It also has the girl that gets involved with the male couple is a horse girl, so it just it's so good. So good.
I like how you explain that because that's not how I've ever interpreted it, and I think that yours is better, but I still want to share mine if that's okay.
Of course.
Okay, so the MFM, I never thought of it as a male and a female bringing in a male. It's however the letters are touching determines who they're having sex with. So MFM means that only the males have sex with the female, not with each other. And MMF means that the males also have sex, but then they also have sex with the female.
Yeah, but if the front M isn't touching the back F, is that M having sex with the female?
Yes, it can. It can.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
because sugar daddies, they're all doing it all
Yeah,
together.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Clearly.
yeah, yeah. So I loved how you explained it. That was really great. But mine, and it's mostly to separate the male and the female. So the MM together just means that yes, the males also have sex with the female. But sometimes
Yeah.
you can have it to where it just one male is having sex with the female, and then that male is also having sex with the male. I've read that. That happens in Belle Aurora's Raw. They're secondary characters that they share. A male and a female, they're best friends. They share a boyfriend.
My favorite, and it was a polyamorous relationship, and I don't think you and I have read any like true poly because, and I guess this is the other that I would love to have a discussion with like other book talkers, grammars, threaders, whatever, readers is so I loved, first of all, so one of my very favorite series that's also very smutty, who is a good smut author, is Katie Robert, taking Court
Mhm.
of Vampire Queen out of the equation.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. But her Dark Olympus series is so good. One of my favorite, it probably is my favorite smut series. And she just, it was Cruel Seduction. It was such a beautiful representation of a polyamorous relationship where you have, it was two male characters and two female characters. So when the book started, I assumed they were all just gonna like get in together. That's not what ended up happening. You ended up having, spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't read this book yet. You have your main female character. She ends up getting married to the main male character. She's in love with a different male character, and her husband's best friends with a female character. Following so far?
Yes.
Okay. So, of course, the married couple have sex and like their chemistry's off the hook. He ends up getting together with who she's in love with, and she ends up getting together with his best friend
So they have an open marriage.
unintentionally, but yeah.
Okay.
So what ends up happening is I loved this story so much. The two females end up being in an open relationship together. She moves in with the couple. The love ends up falling in love with her husband, which gets reciprocated. So like the three of them are kind of in a menage, while she also has this really beautiful relationship with the best friend, and the
Mhm.
husband ends up having like a really beautiful relationship with the person that she was in love with. But like the person she was in love with and the husband don't interact with the girlfriend.
Okay.
It went in a direction I wasn't expecting, and it was amazing, and I loved it.
So,
And
but
I have no idea.
does she end up with both guys?
She ends up with everybody. Yeah, so
Oh,
she ends
okay.
up with, so it's almost like for her, it's almost like a why choose, because she ends up with the female, her husband, and her love interest.
Oh, okay. I love that.
Yeah.
You don't get a lot of reverse harems or white shoes where there's a female thrown in the mix.
I need that in my life. I need
Mhm.
more why choose reverse harem where it's mixed company.
Okay, now I might have to read it. I mean, it's already on
It's
my list, but
there hasn't been, I've read every single book that has come out in that series, and I have not been disappointed by a single one of them. And
okay.
Neon Gods is in the top 5, and Hades from Neon Gods is in my fake reverse harem. Like,
Oh my god, we are totally doing an episode where we build our own reverse harem.
I posted my reverse harem on Threads yesterday.
All right, we have one more left. You want to do it? Or you want me to? You do it. You do it. You got this.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well,
I feel like we kind
okay,
of
so
sort of talked about that.
Yeah, I feel like the polyamorous relationship in Cruel Seduction is a good, kind of representation of this. So you have MMMF and then MMFM.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, is everyone just
So
into?
the, I don't know.
Yeah.
So it could mean a lot of things. I know for the MMMF, I'm pretty sure that means that all the males are having sex with a female. And that the MMFM means that only some of the males are having sex, and then there's some males that only have sex with the female.
Okay. So that you see a lot of that type of thing in Omegaverse.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I
Oh
don't know if
yeah.
Mannix would Mannix be considered Omegaverse?
Yes, so
Or
Mannix is Omegaverse.
so that's a good example. Like, all of her books, there's typically not all of the males are having sex with each other. It's normally like one or two of them only have sex with the female and then
Mm-hmm.
sex with each other.
I love Grace McGentry. Ugh. Yeah, so that
Those
would
are
be an
really,
example of MMFM because some guys, like you said, like Seven and L, they have sex with the two alphas, but the two alphas never have sex, but they share the female.
yeah. Yep. Such a good series.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, I love it. Those covers are just beautiful.
Yep.
Hmm.
Okay. Are there any other terms that you thought of while we were chatting through all of this?
I think we did really well. I think we covered a good amount. I wasn't expecting it to take us this long. I thought it was going to be like a quick, like 15, 20 minute.
Well, I mean, we gave examples and we got off topic a couple of times, so
Which,
it's fine.
yeah, makes it more interesting. I'm really excited. So, okay, so we're done with that. So I don't have any more. I was just going to say I'm really excited about like the 3 potentially episodes that we have of Trope and Kink,
Yeah, reverse harem.
Reverse Harem, and then what was the other one? Fuck.
That's not a book.
Uh-huh. Did we come up with 3 or just 2?
I think that's it.
Okay. When I edit the episode, I'll write them down because I can't remember.
Awesome.
All
All
right.
right. Friends, did we cover all of the book terminologies that you feel we should have covered in this episode? If not, let us know and we will comment back to you. Okay. And we will see you next week.
Thank you for joining us on the journey into the shadows of love, where dark romance stories come to light.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Bones of the Story as much as we did. If you did, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Your feedback means the world to us.
And to stay updated on all things dark romance, follow us on social media. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
We'd also love to hear from you. Share your thoughts, ideas, or even your own dark romance stories with us. Drop us a line at bonesofthestory@gmail.com.
Remember, our next tantalizing episode is just around the corner, so keep your hearts open and your senses sharp.
Until then, embrace the darkness and let the stories continue to stir your deepest desires.
This is Misty
And Jen,
signing off
from Bones of the Story.